She can get an apartment. I'll help her with a deposit, but I am not putting her name on my house. Welcome back to the Daily Scoop, and here's the scoop for you. Am I the asshole for recording my own sister and playing the audio in front of my entire family after she faked a pregnancy to steal my house? My sister has been jealous of everything I own since the first day I bought my own car with my money. So when she showed up at my front door with 2 suitcases and a sob story about her landlord, I already knew something was wrong. My wife felt sorry for her, and I said 3 months, maximum. That was my first mistake, trusting a deadline. She settled in fast, too fast. Within the first 2 weeks, she knew where everything was, had opinions about the furniture, and started cooking dinner like it was her kitchen. My wife loved it. They stayed up late talking, laughing, doing face masks. I tried not to make it weird. She was family. I let it go. Then she announced she was pregnant. My wife cried happy tears. My sister sat at our dining table holding her belly, saying the father was out of the picture and she had nobody. My wife looked at me like we have to help her, and I did feel for her for about 48 hours until I noticed she never once scheduled a prenatal appointment, never mentioned a clinic, never had nausea, nothing. I asked her once, casually, "When's your first scan?" She said, "Soon. I'm still figuring out the insurance." That was week 3 of the pregnancy announcement. Week 6, same answer. I stopped asking out loud. I started paying attention instead. Meanwhile, my wife started bringing up the house. Not directly at first, just little comments. "It would be nice if your sister felt more secure here." Then, "She's scared about where she'll go after the baby." Then one night, my wife sat me down and said, "I think we should add her to the deed." I said no. Not loud, not mean, just no. I bought that house before we got married. It's in my name. I worked 2 jobs for 3 years to save on that down payment. My sister contributed nothing to it. Adding her name to the deed made zero legal sense, and I told my wife that. My wife said she's going to be a single mother. She has no stability. I said she can get an apartment. I'll help her with the deposit, but I'm not putting her name on my house. My wife went quiet in a way that scared me, more than shouting would have. After that, everything shifted. My wife started being cold, distant. She'd have long private conversations with my sister, and when I walked in, they'd stop. I felt like a stranger in my own home. I started sleeping badly. I lost weight. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. Then my sister escalated. She started crying in front of my wife how I never liked her, how I resented her for her success, how she felt unwanted and unsafe in our home. My wife came to me repeating these things word for word like she was reading from a script. She says you've always tried to control her. I stared at my wife and I thought, who are you right now? One evening, I came home from work and I heard my sister on the phone in the guest room. The door was cracked. She didn't hear me come in. She was saying, just a little longer. Once she files, the house becomes marital property and I can make my move. She just needs to believe he's the bad guy a little longer. I stood in the hallway and I felt cold all the way through. I didn't confront her. I went into the kitchen, made coffee, and sat with that information for 2 days. Then I bought a small recorder. I know, people will say it's wrong, but I needed proof because I knew if I told my wife without it, she wouldn't believe me. 3 days later, my sister tried again. She came to me in the living room when my wife was in the shower and said point blank, "You should really think about that deed. It would make things a lot easier for everyone." I said, "What happens if I don't?" She smiled, actually smiled, and said, "Your wife is very close to deciding if this marriage is worth saving." I've been talking to her every day. She trusts me more than she trusts you right now. I had the recorder in my shirt pocket. I waited 1 more week. My sister arranged a dinner at our house with our parents and 2 aunts, framing it as family supporting gathering for her pregnancy. She wanted an audience. I brought my phone with the recording already queued. Halfway through dinner, when my sister started crying about how I threatened to kick her out, I pulled my phone out and put it on the table and pressed play. The room went silent. My mother's face went through about 5 expressions in 4 seconds. My father put his fork down slowly. My wife sat very still. My sister's face went from shock to rage to this weird forced calm that honestly scared me a little. When the recording ended, my father said, "What is this?" My sister said it was edited. My father said, "Edited how? That's your voice." She had nothing to say after that. My wife left the table. I found her in the bedroom 20 minutes later, sitting on the edge of the bed looking at the floor. She didn't apologize right away. She just said, "How long have you been carrying this?" I said, "Long enough." She started crying. I didn't comfort her immediately, and I'm not proud of that, but I was exhausted. My sister left that night. My parents took her. Nobody called it what it was, but everybody knew. The aftermath is messy. My wife and I spent about 2 months in counseling trying to untangle how easily she'd been turned against me. It wasn't simple. My wife isn't a bad person. She genuinely believed she was protecting a vulnerable family member. My sister is smart and she played on my wife's instinct to nurture. That's the part that's hard to forgive, using someone's goodness as a weapon. The fake pregnancy, by the way, quietly disappeared about 3 weeks after she left. No announcement, no explanation. My mother told me she lost it. I didn't push, I knew the truth. The house is still in my name. I never changed it. My wife's name isn't on it either. And honestly, I've thought about that too, about what it means that I've never felt fully safe making that move. We're still working through it though. My sister has tried to reach out twice, both times through my mother, framing it as her wanting to repair things. I haven't responded. My wife actually backed me on that, which meant something. Here's what I keep thinking about though. My sister didn't just try to take my house. She tried to make me the villain in my own life so thoroughly that I'd lose my marriage, my home, and my reputation in one move. And the scariest part, it almost worked. Not because I was weak, but because she knew exactly which people around me to target and how. The lesson I carry now is this. Entitlement plus patience is a dangerous combination. She wasn't impulsive, she had a plan. And if I hadn't come home early that one evening, I might have never known. Am I the asshole? That's a lot to dive into, to experience, to go through as an adult. That is a lot to have your own sister that you opened your doors up to, have your own sister come in, try to take your house, wreck your marriage, and do all of these things. She was very, very calculated. If it was me, I would cut contact forever with my sister. Forever. You no longer have the privilege to know me, to know anything about me, to know my wife, anything like that, because this was a lot. As for your wife, it is going to take a lot of therapy, counseling to get through it. As easily as your wife, was altered into believing that you were the bad guy, yeah, I do hope that you and your wife can somehow work it out. You're not the asshole. Let me know in the comments who you think the asshole is, and feel free to follow my TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.